All right, and yourself, what brings you here besides the edict of your superiors?
Well, I also have a bachelor's in psychology. I kind of worked in the nonprofit sector at first, post graduation, and then I saw the opportunity for the behavioral health coordinator, and when I learned more about it, I learned it was like a newer program and it was a newer health model being done here in Idaho, and I thought to be a part of that and to get that experience was invaluable. So I applied for it and I got the job and I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Crystal's really going to bring a lot of knowledge as to how care coordination and CHWs can fit together, which I know is coming rapidly your way there at Family Health Services. So we will launch in and really we want you to participate. So I guess Jen, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, before we get started, did you watch any of the videos for PCBH?
Yes, I watched your guys' the first training, I think it was the fidelity of the
Primary
PCH.
care behavioral health.
Yeah, and then I watched Dr. Ryder's his presentation on it. I forgot the name of the presentation, but I watched his. I've kind of read his book, and then I've been doing the Optimus targeted care coordination trainings as well. Or the Relias, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Optums. Okay.
Yeah.
Optums training.
I've used the Relias platform. I'm really familiar with a lot of those courses. If you'd, and Crystal as well. So if you'd ever like some suggestions on courses for you to take,
Okay.
we'd be happy to give you some as well. So
Okay, great.
there's
Yeah.
great motivational interviewing resources on there. So, all right. So one last question, I guess, at this point, do you know that you're going to be working with adults and children, adults primarily? What's your population that you're going to be serving?
I don't think I think it's going to start with adults. And then as we figure out more of the logistics, I think it's going to be the children and adults, the children family team. And
I believe it's going to be generalists.
Okay.
So it'll be cradle to grave.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So we will jump right in. We know the invite this morning got lost, but did actually want to send over to you a copy of this worksheet. It's an MBTI personality type test. Did you happen to get that?
Let me double check. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Do you want me to send it over right now, Megan? If you want to give me an email address, I can send it directly to him.
Could Alberto,
Yep.
did you ever take the Myers-Briggs?
I did once in college, I believe.
Do you remember your personality inventory?
I don't remember the letters, but I think I remember like the acronym used. It was the nurturer, I think.
No,
like
let's go back. So let's I'm going to do a really quick Myers-Briggs on you, okay?
Okay.
We would like you to actually, for next time we meet, I'd like you to fill out the MBTI. Can you guys upload it on the chat for him? So I'm going to ask you, so we're going to go E versus I, okay?
Okay.
When you're around people, do you get energy or do you feel like you're drained when you are around people?
I'd say get energy.
Huh?
I'd say get energy.
Okay, we're gonna assume you're an E, okay, until you take this Myers-Briggs. Okay, then I'm gonna determine if you're an S or an N, okay? Do you like things organized, like in a checkbox, and you like your to-do list, or are you someone that kind of takes things from the gut, like a hunch?
Lists.
Okay, so
Organized.
he's an S. Okay, are you a person that likes logic and it's something that can be really explained in like through science and things like that? Whereas, are you more like more about how people feel? How are they doing? It makes you more comfortable around people who are really expressing themselves and making sure about harmony, things like that.
I'd say the second one, but I guess the logistic stuff in other realms, but second one mostly.
Okay, so he's an F. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question around if you're a J or a P. Okay, if I was to give you tickets to Bali, okay, would you be this type of person or this type of person? Are you a person that would like have anxiety because you have to plan out every detail of your trip? Or would you be like, sweet, I got tickets to Bali and I'll figure it out when I get there?
First one.
Okay, he's a J.
Yeah. And
So
I'm noting,
just go from there.
well, yeah, and I'm noting actually, you said that you scored as a nurturer, and that's a personality type that Crystal and I know really well as well. So there may be a finer split between your extroversion and your introversion. So your ability to gain, we'll get into that, but I'm throwing that up there, and Crystal will upload that nurturer description for you to download and read later. All right, so I am not sharing my screen, so let me get started with that.
So one of the things, Alberto, is when we do care coordination, we have to figure out how well are you self-aware of your behavior in a situation, and also how you communicate with people, or how do you impact someone that may be a complete opposite to you. And so our goal is to really know your kind of yourself, so that when you get into a situation with a patient that is not going well, you immediately need to assess where are you in that conversation with the patient or with a person. So I'm gonna throw it back to you, Megan.
You bet. All right, so in the extended training, okay, I'm not screen sharing. Yes, I am. Okay, in the extended training, we'd have you taking the MBTI.
You're not in the slideshow?
It's not showing that?
It's not slideshow. We're watching your panel to the left and your slide.
Oh, no. Okay. This is what.
Which is fine. I mean, it's not a big deal.
No, it's covering you guys up. I can't see you. So let me see what I can do. I got to be able to see you guys. I'm sorry.
Well, just go down to the far left or down to the right or wherever to make it a slideshow.
No, I did that, and it covered you guys up, my picture of you. So
You have to tell it to stop sharing on both screens and your top left corner. And I noticed because I was playing with it this weekend.
Chris, hold on, just hold on a minute. Let me move you guys. I'm gonna move you guys over here. Sorry, and see if I can share over here. All right, so let's do this one more time. I want to be able to make eye contact with y'all so badly while we're all right. So then I just have to move this window over here. Okay, and I can do it from here. I press this little button, and through the magic of the internet, we have a slideshow. Is that correct?
Got it.
All right. All right, thank you. I appreciate cheerleading. So rounds of applause are always welcome. So in the typical training, we would be running you through your Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's really important for me to acknowledge that some people have called it the Keirsey temperament sorter, but the Myers-Briggs type indicator is the actual name for the instrument. As you know, it was initially named under someone who supervised the two women, Ms. Myers and Ms. Briggs, who developed this tool. So it's very important for me to point out that the Myers-Briggs was developed by women. And a little bit about the history is it was developed by women during wartime in order to determine what types of jobs or careers would actually fit best with their personality type. So there are 16 types, and you know, I'd love it actually if anybody can do it, rename yourself in Zoom and put your name and your type next to your name, if you would do that. So I have already shared that I'm a ESTJ, or I have not shared that, but I'm an ESTJ. Crystal?
I am an ISTJ, so I am a duty fulfiller.
And Jen is an INTP, and in true INTP fashion, she just typed it in so that she wouldn't have to say anything in true I fashion.
But is that what you said, to rename ourselves?
Yes, I know. I'm just giving you a bad. And lastly, what was your acronym? I'm asking, it's a pop quiz.
I think he was a S, ES.
Yeah. ESFJ, right, exactly, ESFJ. So the question that people always have is, you know, why is this really important? And mainly it's so I can put a label on you and I don't have to remember your name for the rest of the session. But honestly, the reason why it's important is because understanding each of the sides of each type, or like extroversion and introversion, helps you to know how you normally operate and how people may operate differently from you, and how that may create conflicts in relationships or conflicts in expectations between two people working together, whether it's in a client and clinician relationship, or whether it's a coworker relationship. So, and Crystal will upload some fun stuff for you into the chat box that you can read later about your personality type. So if you want to, if you have any questions about any of that material or want to share, that'll be part of our kind of report in for next session. That'll be our flashback, all right? All right, so Jen and I have actually talked about this a couple hundred times, and so we're gonna talk about each of the pairs within each type, and we're gonna start with, I think, where we differ the most, one of the areas that we differ the most, and that is the extrovert versus introvert. So I know Jen's an introvert and she doesn't mind if I start talking first about this slide. She's like, I will kick back, wait until you've said what you need to say, and then I'm gonna then I'll go ahead and put in my 2 cents if you miss anything. And she will, because she's an introvert and she's thinking these things over very carefully. So I'm often seen as an outgoing or a people person. I feel comfortable in groups and like working in them. I moderately agree with these statements. As you look at these statements in either category, you can think about whether you moderately agree with them or strongly agree, you know, but because nobody is a 100% E or 100% I or S or N or anything like that. I have a wide range of friends and I know lots of people. I would say I know lots of people. I have a small range of friends, so I'm a little bit different there. I sometimes jump too quickly into an activity and don't allow enough time to think it over. That is actually something that I have really worked on, and I've worked on it by waiting for introverts and asking for introverts to input into assignments, being very specific about that, looking for subtle facial signals that tell me this person has something on their mind that they need to share into this conversation, something that's bugging them. So that's one way that I've kind of changed a little bit. And before I start a project, I sometimes forget to stop and get clear on what I want to do and why. And actually, I disagree with that statement because of another quality that I have. But for the most part, I score as an extrovert. Every time I score this, I expect to completely split the middle. And really, I took this personality test again last night, and I had more introvert qualities than I'd ever had before, which to me, that's very interesting. So it's part of that reflection, you know, what is it about working remotely, working at home, working in a pandemic that changes the way that I perceive the world or that I experience the world? What's my favorite world? Maybe my favorite world is to be home because I have fear or some other factor going on. So interesting to look at the extrovert, and I will let the introvert introduce herself. Although I talked quite a bit about her in my own piece.
Yeah, so I'm an introvert, but people actually confuse me as being an extrovert because I have learned a lot of traits on how to communicate with extroverts. So when we teach this, we want you to know what your preferences tend to fall, but also you have to build muscle memory of your opposite so that you're able to communicate. But the other thing is the difference of like an introvert and extrovert is that I kind of think of it as energy, because when Megan gets around me or other people, she gets really energetic. I mean, she like draws energy from people. And when you're an introvert like me, I have to get away from people. So this is the joke between Megan and I when it comes to introverts and extroverts. So she's sucking the life out of me because I'm an introvert. And so in order for me to kind of regain that energy that people take from me, I have to be sort of away from people because that's how I gather energy. So as an introvert, I have to also know how to build up my energy tolerance so that when I'm around extroverts, that I have stamina to be able to keep up with an extrovert. But I also know that there's a backlash for me because I end up losing a lot of energy. So I have to sort of develop a strategy where I have to be away from people and gather my energy so I'm not so depleted that I get burned out. So I'm also, as in this particular slide, as an introvert, I'm very reflective and reserved. People actually don't think I'm that now, but when I was earlier in my career, I was much more reflective and reserved. I feel comfortable being alone and like things I can do on my own. That's pretty much me to a T. I prefer to know just a few people well versus a lot of people. I do have a lot of people I do know, but I would say that I would consider them more work acquaintances, but I have a very small, close group of friends. I sometimes spend too much time reflecting and don't move into action quickly. That is not a full description of me. I do think through things, but I do act very quickly. And sometimes I forget to check with the outside world to see if my ideas really fit the experience. That is pretty true, except I have learned, as Megan has learned with her extroversion, that I can't do that. So I've made a lot of mistakes doing just not checking out in the outside world. So I have really improved in that last bullet because I knew that it has actually caused me a lot of conflict when I wasn't more inclusive with the outside world and my experience. So I wasn't so centered to myself, but more cautious about what others are thinking outside of my own personal circle. Crystal, you're an introvert. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, and it's kind of funny because I feel like a chameleon because I'm very introverted, but I am very good at putting on those extroverted persona when I'm working with teams and I'm working with other people. And while I'm with them, I can pull their energy and have that energy. But the moment they're gone, I am sucked dry and I'm just done. I am very reflective and reserved when I'm at home and in my own space. But when I'm out with the group and the team and working with people, they will describe me as very outgoing and a people person. So anybody who knows me thinks I am very extroverted, but when in fact is my preference is to be at home in my own office doing my own thing. That's where my comfort zone is. That's where I get my vibe and I can get things really going. But I forget to check in with the outside world, and they have to check in on me more often than not.
So Alberto, now looking at this from an extrovert, introvert, do you still think you're an extrovert?
I would say so, yeah, still. I think the only thing I don't agree with is just the jump into or before starting a project, forget. I think that's something I like to do is like, I'm a planner. I like to make itineraries, lists and things. So that's the only thing I really don't agree on. But I think people would see me as outgoing or a people person.
So that what you described sounds like your S, not your E. So you're, so the other thing I would caution as an extrovert, one of the things that is when you're with patients, if you're an extrovert and there's a lot of people who have these kind of introverted tendencies, you have to be careful that you aren't sucking too much energy out of that person. And it takes some experience to know how much to take and how much not to take. So you have to really, especially people who are really vulnerable, they have barely enough energy to take care of themselves, right? And then you come in as an extrovert who need to feed off that energy to feel like yourself. You have to be really careful that you don't take too much. And so you have to figure out how to develop that introverted muscle so that you aren't taking too much energy or sucking the life out of them, as I would say. It's more of a visual as I say that, because you'll remember that comment. But you have to be really careful because you will take a lot of energy from people who have very little energy. So just, I would probably say Megan would be a good coach of being able to say, how does she kind of hold back her energy, taking too much energy from someone? But that's really the other thing. The other thing I would say, because you're not an introvert, Alberto, what I tell people who come into this field and they are introverts, they have to learn how to be an extrovert, because we're around people all day. And if you don't have the energy tolerance to be around people who are suffering and who need to take energy from you, you're not going to survive in this field, or you're going to be a really poor therapist, right? And so just as I'm asking you to not take too much energy, I'm asking introverts to build up energy so that they can be around people all day long and also be able to interact and communicate with people who need to have you be more like an extrovert.
Yeah, and I would just say that I've really learned to redirect my extroverted energy into other areas that I'm weaker in within these pairs. That's it. That's the thing, is that there's a lot of energy. Why is it going forward? There's a lot of energy for an. Is it moving forward?
No.
Okay, there we go. There's a lot of energy in an introvert that you can redirect into other pairs of temperaments, and improve upon the ways that you interact with patients and with colleagues. So
being an introvert and working with a lot of extroverts, one of the things that I really appreciate about Megan's style is that she does actually try and determine who is an introvert, who is an extrovert, and she'll check in with me. Like when we're working, she'll check in am I going too fast? Do I have too much energy? Like, what do I need to do? And she'll take that feedback when I say, okay, I just need to step back and reflect for a minute and process. She's open and willing to do that. She checks in on those moments of being that extrovert and checking in on the introverts. So that's something that is
And
really,
that-
really helpful if you can do. Very helpful.
And that is me redirecting extroverted energy into feeling energy.
And how would you guys, I
That
don't know if you, sorry, I don't know if you guys are going to touch base on this later, but how you said like build up that energy in case you want to reserve? Because I think in this field, I try to be very conscientious of burnout, and I don't want to get to that point.
Well, I would say an extrovert, as someone as extroverted as me and much more extroverted than me, can get burnout. Anybody can get burnout. So building up those energy reserves is about self-reflection. It's about exercise. It's about supportive relationships. It's about your financial health. It's really a wellness. It's really a full wellness approach. So like I just kind of, for me, I'm not, I also know that I also know that that's self-care, and it's not just self-care, but it's filling your bucket. That filling your bucket is something that I'm responsible for and that no one else is. And so I take and I allow enough time to fill my bucket with things that that are important to me. So.
And Alberto, I apologize. What is your preference that we call you?
Alberto's fine.
Alberto, okay. Were you asking on the extrovert side or on the introvert side about building tolerance?
I guess just on the extrovert side. I think having such a wide range of clients, I think I've tried to do what you do. It's just like not try to be too, I guess I don't know how to describe it, too much, like too high energy, too charismatic. And I try to dial down a little bit more for those clients that don't have a lot of energy. But I do recognize that does take a lot of conscious effort and a lot of energy. And so that's where I'm just like,
Yep.
how do I build that up? But because I already knew like self-care is very important, but I think, yeah, the wellness approach and trying to work on that.
And you might need that wellness approach because you are an extrovert. You probably need to be around people socially, you know, so that you can gather energy, just not in a work environment. Whereas like Crystal and I just need to be away from people. So you just have to find your own method of how to regain that for yourself. And that's trial and error sometimes. You aren't going to know right away, just because as Megan is an extrovert and you're an extrovert, it's just you're two different people, you know, and your experiences are different, your cultures are different. And so you just have to sort of find that thing that's going to work for you, knowing that there's a constellation of tools that can be used for wellness or self-care.
And I just try to pick wellness activities or self-care activities that are just really highly in line with my values. So being an aunt for to 25, that's important to me. So that's what I put my extra time into, is being with my nieces and nephews. So that's maybe an example, you know. So I just try to connect those self-care activities to my values. It's very important. So sensing versus intuition. So this is about how you use information. And so do you prefer to focus on the information that's coming at you in this very moment, or listening word by word, or are you looking for an overarching theme in a 5-minute presentation that I might give you? Are you looking at are you trying to remember events kind of like snapshots? Do you look for the takeaway quote, the takeaway from the meeting? These are sensors. So sensors, I start with facts and then I build a big picture out. So I am working with a hospital or with a community, and it has one hospital and it has one health department and it has one mental health agency and it has 3 social service agencies that are connected to food, housing. And I put those pieces together, and then I make my big picture assessment of maybe the environment that I'm working in. That is very important to me. I trust, I really, sometimes I pay so much attention to counting how many hospitals there are that I miss an opportunity to maybe go to a vet clinic and decide to put COVID testing in a vet clinic, which is something that an intuitive might come to rather than a sensor, because I'm really mentally making an inventory of the information that's available to me in my environment. So that would be me as a sensor. And I have an intuitive friend that I've learned a lot from.
So this is me as an intuitive, and it drives sensors a bit crazy. So as it says there, I remember events by what I read between the lines about their meaning. I saw problems I leave being between ideas and possibilities. I'm interested in doing things that are new and different. I like to see the big picture, then find the facts. I trust impressions, symbols, metaphors more than what I actually experience. And sometimes I think so much about new possibilities, I never look at how to make them a reality, which actually that last bullet is not me. I do look at new possibilities, but I do make things happen. So this is how it feels like as a S trying to communicate with an N, okay? So Megan will say, the sky is blue, and the sky is blue for X and Y, and it equals A, B, and C equals C, D. And I would go, well, I think it really equals X. And so she'll give me a really great scientific answer why the sky is blue. And this is how I would tell you why the sky is blue. I was sitting at a coffee shop back in 20 something or 1990 something. I was sitting on this chair that was green, and I was reading a book and I was drinking this coffee. And it led me to this idea about this other book that I read that said something about the sky is blue. And then I talked to this professor who had this idea about why the sky is blue. And this is why the sky is blue. That's how I come to that decision about why the sky is blue. So Megan, who's an S, needs it to be a logical progression of these facts, and then the answer of why the sky is blue. So an intuitive doesn't have this real, logical chain of facts, but they will come to the exact same answer why the sky is blue. It's just they came at it a very different way. I will have this kind of intuitive hunch, like this thing, because I process information in a really different way. I like kind of soak in information, and it sort of comes in a place where I sort of will make a leap, or I'll make a hunch, or a guess. It feels like a guess sometimes to a lot of sensors, but I will come to the exact same conclusion, even though I came at it very differently. So what I have to do, because in a scientific world, an intuitive will suffer because they have to actually articulate and describe how an answer is the sky is blue, right?
Right.
Right. So I have to cue myself like, okay, Jen, you're going to have to put this in a string of thought that's logical and factual, so that they know that you aren't just crazy, that you actually have this logical reasoning why the sky is blue. But I use my information differently as well than a sensor, because I kind of take that idea of sky is blue and I sort of like, I throw it out. And what's weird is like, I'll have this idea tinkering in my head for years. And then something will like, an information will come to me and it like clicks. And I don't know why, but that's just the way my head works. But when a sensor encounters an intuitive that is not self-aware about that they have to sort of have this different logic of thinking, you have to cue me. So Megan we've had this relationship where she knows I'm an N and she's an S. And when I have this idea, she has to help me sort of break it down why it works. And so you have to sort of cue an intuitive to get you the answer. Don't get frustrated with us, because even though we will come up with the same answer, we just came at it differently. So you have to sort of cue us on how did we get to that information, and be a little bit flexible that it's not going to quite fit in a box. And as an intuitive, what's that?
Yeah. If I were to ask Jen, what color would you want this PowerPoint today to be? She would, and I would say, I wouldn't say, I recommend green because it's the most energizing color. That's how I would recommend it. She would say, I think it looks nice in green. Like, it looks good in green. That's like the difference between a sensor and an intuitive. And it looks nice in green. It reminds me of this wellness clinic logo that I saw a few years ago, and it really looked cool. I mean, and that's how she would come to it. And I would be like, well, scientific studies show that green is a soothing color, so we should make it green. Or scientific studies show that blue will put you to sleep, so we should put it in blue because it's going to take a while, unless we keep going through these. So
as an intuitive, I have to be very conscientious when I'm working with an S, that I have to really be more I don't want to say factual, but to communicate in a way that as a sensor, it makes sense to you, even though it's illogical to you the way I got to the answer.
And I truly know that Jen has developed her sensor side because she also is a data queen. And so that's taking a weakness, an area that could be considered a difficult area, and putting effort into it. I don't know, I just wanted to pass her that compliment because it is something that I noticed, because as a sensor, I appreciate data. So for you, Alberto, are there any of the sensors that really stick out for you as a descriptor of you, or any of even the intuition that maybe describes you?
I think to solve problems by working through facts. Sometimes I pay too much attention to the facts, either present or past, that I miss new possibilities. I think I've done that before, but on the intuition side, I think I'm interested in like doing things that are new and different. I like to look at the big picture and then find out the facts. I think I've done that too, because I think you can make factual bases off the big picture. So I think that one I relate to a lot. But yeah, I do relate to the sensing a lot, because I think I have trouble with like the gray areas and the more abstract concepts, just because you can't really put them in a box.
You're on mute.
I was just going to say that you're very in tune with some of the end qualities that I have enjoyed working with Jen on doing new innovative things. That's really exciting for me, seeing the big picture and learning to break it down into facts too. So yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let me advance. Oops.
I just want to tell you from like a true introvert perspective, who is an ISTJ, I literally can lead towards the N when I am in my introverted mode and I'm at home doing my own thing. I will wander and think so much about possibilities, but not make them a reality. and I will think about impressions and past experiences, and I get stuck in that N mode. But when I'm being my extroverted self and I'm working with others, I am strictly in that S zone at the same time. It's almost, for me, it's almost like a dual personality. I'm a different person at work than when I am at home being my true self. So I get to enjoy both sides of it and all the perks.
Mhm. And I've seen her score. She's a down the middle person in several of these categories. Did I go the right way?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
That's where you
Okay,
should
good.
be.
All right. So this is the one that Jen and I agree with, or Jen and I both identify with, is a T. And Crystal. We all identify with the T. Here is my pitch to you on what an F is. So I'm going to give you this pitch. And this is the pitch of a T on what an F is. So I have a people or communications orientation. In my head, that says I like to talk. That says also that I might not be getting things done while I'm talking. See, I'm already doing it. I'm already thinking through the feeler descriptions, but I'm concerned with harmony and I'm nervous when it's missing. I'm working in a group and things feel out of kilter and you can't stand that. You try to reestablish that harmony. I look for what is important to others and express concern for others. I'm the person that uses the care button on Facebook a lot. You know, I'm posting encouraging messages out on Facebook. I make decisions with my heart and want to be compassionate. Nothing wrong with that. Wanting to be compassionate. I think that's an amazing quality. I believe that being tactful is more important than telling the cold truth. So breaking it to them easy is always important. That's a great strategy. Sometimes I miss seeing or communicating the hard truth of situations. When there are uncomfortable parts of a situation that you have to address, sometimes you'll miss that hard truth. And it's because you are truly looking to attend to the feelings of those other people in the room. And I'm sometimes experienced by others as too idealistic, mushy, or indirect, which are all really nice words to describe a feeler. But we work with a ton of feelers. And so I have to tell you, everything in the T category is pretty much true for me. And there has been so many things out of the F category that I have redirected all of my extroverted energy into picking up these feeling behaviors during decision making. And so I love the feelers on my team. I value the feelers on my team. They're going to be the one when I'm hardcore down in the dirt with something, working away with my head facing the computer. They're going to be the ones that tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, it's somebody's birthday today. Oh crap, we got, yeah, we got to get a cake. We got to get something, right? Because those feelers, they're valuable members of my team. I just wasn't born that way naturally, so I have to try to do it on my own. Anything, Jen, that you want to say about feelers before you describe our Spock-like qualities?
Yeah. For an introvert that is an intuitive but a thinker, I'd have to say I come off a little bit different than Megan. I come off, people actually a lot of times think I'm aloof or really unfeeling because I'm in my own head. So I miss social cues when people say, hey, hi. I'm actually, when I come through the door, my head is, I'm thinking in my head, going through my mind, what's going on. And I forget the social cues that people need to interact. So Megan, as an extrovert, does much better at that. So I had to develop my extroverted sense so that I remember to say hi. I make good eye contact. I have those kind of social cues that people need to know that I am present. But I have been accused of things because my thinker and my introvertedness comes off kind of wrong to people because I'm so in my head. So you have to really, I think you have to really make that so kind of idea that you have to just know that you're dealing with an introvert that's more of a thinker, and how do you cue them so that they use their social skills versus thinking them that they're being aloof or uncaring. Did you want anything more to that, Crystal?
I think for me, as the introvert who works really hard to develop those extrovert skills, and I own them very well, I drain myself trying to put the F out there. I'm a T, but I try and be an F for the people I work with. I'm usually like leading a team of people, and I do care. I'm not good at it, but I try so hard to communicate and create harmony and express. I try so hard. That's where my energy drain comes from, with being the introvert. And I have to go home and recharge with my aloneness, because I'm working so hard to be what they need what I perceive they need me to be, because most of them are feelers and I'm a thinker.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that I have a very thinking reason for dumping all the energy that I do into the feeler.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very logical reason, right? Because people who feel included and safe and belong a sense of belonging on a team, they're more productive. They come to work on time. They learn, they grow, they make me, I don't want to say make me proud, because that's taking from their own accomplishments, but they take the good out into the world to be done, that I teach them. And so that's my logical reason for dumping so much effort into that feeling category, but it's still a logical reason. So I do care about you, Crystal, Jen, Alberto. I do care about you, but I care about you because I want you to learn from this training, and I want you to spread spread the work of a care coordinator, which I was myself, out into the world. So it's I still always will have that thinking reason for feeling.
Right. And
or you give me jerk, and then I love you. So.
For me as a thinker, because sometimes the emotional part doesn't make sense to me. What I do as a thinker, I try to figure out ways to understand the emotion versus feeling the emotion. So I think that's kind of where it's not that I'm apathetic. It's that I'm trying to understand, but I do it from my head versus my heart. And not that I don't do it from my heart. It's just that's where I some things just don't compute right for me emotionally. And so I try to figure out how to understand it, but I come at it a very different way. And how to build those skills. That's again, a thinker. A thinker is going to go, how do I build that skill versus like, how do I feel that?
Mm-hmm. Excellent point, Jen. All right, and our last, we've got a lot of J's in here, so I feel like the perceiver should have to explain herself in this scenario. We all know what we're doing. Yeah. All right.
So as you can see, I'm the only perceiver in the room, but the thing about my constellation of personality, I guess disorders, no, we'll call it my personality types, is that I have really developed my J, which is I like to think things, I like to have things decided. I appear to have task oriented. I like to have lists. I like to get my work done before playing. This is totally not me. I'm just going to tell you, like, even reading it, I'm like, no, I don't like that. Like my brain wants to like rail against it because it's not the way I like to operate. And it's But I also know that I can't work like a P all the time because I have to work with people. There's deadlines I got to meet. So one thing that the J's do really well is they provide structure, and be able to really get things done in a way that's focused and organized. The P are really great at, being really open, really thinking outside of the box. So the J's and the P's are really great to keep together because, one, the J's sort of structure the P's, and the P's take the J's outside of their comfort zone. But if you were to leave me if I was to leave myself at my own demise here, I would never get anything done. I would just be thinking, and I would be like, just blowing out deadlines. I'd be ticking people off because I'm not getting my part of the stuff done because I'm working in a team. And I have a hard time like closing projects because I just would like, all this opportunity keeps happening and happening, right? So like I was describing that scenario where that tickets to Bali, like my husband's a J and I'm a P, right? And he would plan the whole thing from the day he got the tickets. He'd have all this anxiety about, okay, I got to pack exactly this amount of clothes I need. I have to know exactly what my itinerary is, so I know my clothes are going to be what I'm going to need for the trip. I need to know the route from the house to the airport to the hotel, and have a really to-do list of things that we're going to do across all these things. And I'm like, tickets to Bali, sweet. I'll figure it out when I go. Hey, I'll just buy whatever I need to get there. If I need sandals, I get sandals there. I don't care if I get food poisoning. It's just kind of what happens. I don't mind getting lost either because I discover some new things, and like that drives him insane, right? Insane, just as Megan is driving her insane. And so what I have to do as a P, I have to be more organized. I have to have things that's going to really help a J be successful or enjoy the time with me in Bali. And but at the same time, I also need unstructured time where everything isn't planned. I can think very creatively outside of just being in this really structured project management time, and know that I have to sort of give myself that as well. But I also have to make sure I'm communicating like a J.
Yeah, she has to at least say, I'm going to start wandering around on this road and we'll see what we see. That's like the minimum. And she does it. I have to admit, she does it. So, what about you, Alberto? Do you feel pretty strongly about your J qualities, or
Yeah.
are there some P qualities you kind of see in yourself as well?
No, I think this is the one I feel like strongly the most about. I definitely am a J. I don't really I don't really agree with any of the P, except I do think that I get a burst of energy starting the project and at the end of the project. I think that's the only one I can really relate to.
That's good. No, that's good. And I think that burst of energy that you probably feel starting a project is that planning activity and how enjoyable it is, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're planning, and that's that J. That's absolutely that J. I know for me, if my college papers weren't turned in the week before they were due, I was having a thrombo, and I'm just ridiculous like that. So, yeah. Crystal, anything left for you to?
Again, I'm that crazy wanderer, and I kind of go back and forth because I'm very list or structured tasks, to-do lists, and everything. But I do work in bursts of energy. I also am very stimulated by an approaching deadline. So I was very great in school about, I have 3 days till my paper's done. But guess what? I got an A every time because that's where my energy came in. And I wrote that, and I wrote it so well. And I like to stay open to information as it's coming in. But once I feel like the goal has been met, then I shut that door. I'm taking information and then I'm like, nope, I don't care. The door's shut. We're done now, and let's move along. So I really kind of go back and forth. But I can't do Jen and Bali. No.
Right. So, Alberto, we have held you still for just over an hour. I would like to propose Crystal upload the next discussion activity into the chat box. It is another, or not another, I shouldn't say another, a different way of analyzing the behavior of others and yourself. That is a little simpler than finding out what all of your clients' Myers-Briggs personality types are. I don't think you would want to do that. That takes a little bit too long. So it's kind of a quick and dirty on behavior and interaction. So she's going to upload that. It is completely it gives the instructions line by line. And I'd like you to work on that. And I'd like us to try to come back together at 9:25.
Okay.
So that should give you like 5 minutes for a bathroom break. Wait, that's 9:23. 9:30. We're going to come back at 9:30. Okay.
Okay.
So bathroom break and work on this.
Okay.
Okay. That means you have to print it, sorry, or open it up in PDF or whatever. Crystal can help with that.
I got it open.
Yeah, it's probably easiest if you print it because it's a PDF document.
Okay.
And you have to kind of score it too, like we wanted to send all of these to you in advance, but then we didn't want to overwhelm you at the same time. But if I would have known you were a J, I would have known you would have gotten them all done. So
I do love a list.
all right, and now I'm trying to stop sharing for just a minute. All right. Okay, so
Grab coffee and
9:30.
take a potty break. I'll be back.
Siri set an alarm for 9:30.
Okay, it's on.
Nearly impossible, and there's probably some rules against experimenting on your clients and having them all take the MBTI and writing that on the front of their folder so that you know them. But people also, people also have certain behavioral types that they usually fall into. And so the test, it's not really a test, but the inventory of express the way that people were expressing themselves in that interaction, it really is characterized into kind of 4 major areas. So in pink, you can see that there's a get it right. In pink over here, you can see that it's a get it done. So get it right is a more passive behavior. Get it done is a more aggressive behavior. Same thing goes here for get along, which is a more passive behavioral style. And some people would say, you know, over here on get appreciated, not necessarily aggressive, but assertive. But when someone is this far out, they definitely are aggressive. So this is kind of a continuum of assertion, is what I would say. When we also look at the vertical line, I hope this isn't covered on your side, but at the top of the x-axis, you can't see my head, top of the x-axis is a focus on tasks with your behaviors. And at the bottom is a focus on people with your behaviors. So when you went and did your little exercise, I'm going to ask Crystal to share ours in just a minute. Can you tell me which of these behavior types you fell into? And which
I fell into get it done.
Okay. And which behavior type did the other person fall into?
The get along.
Get along.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Just using those short labels on that person and on yourself?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to the situation?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm like the type to like rip off the Band-Aid kind of person. So I thought that's where the get it done got part, and then the get along, because I still think harmony is really important. So that's where I think that other part came into play.
Yeah. So do you mind sharing a little bit about the scenario that you were replaying in your head for us? Or if it's uncomfortable, it's okay not to.
Well, I used to be a very like, I guess, passive person, but in college I did a lot of military of like in the RTC program, and that was a dramatic difference. And I think I learned how to get very assertive, very authoritative. And I don't know, I just think it kind of stuck, and I think I found it efficient. So, but I realized like that's not the time and place. There's everything in moderation. And so, yeah, I think that's where that comes from. And then get along, because I think when you have that more aggressive kind of side, I think it can, you have to be very people focused because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And I think, yeah.
So, you know, let me just pull this up.
So I just need to ask, in that scenario, you were trying to get it done and the other person was trying to get along?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of another way to look at the different language of personality behavior types. You know, you were get it done. You were being probably pretty decisive. You know, possibly giving orders out, which is fine if you're in the right position. And the other person you mentioned was more in the get along. They wanted everybody to have fun, everybody to work together potentially, everybody to be included. Would you say that's fairly accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the bigger question is, how far out into the get it done were you? Were you like, was your intersection way out in the corner over here, or was it more towards the middle?
It was a little farther out than the middle.
Okay, so right about here, you would say, maybe. Yeah, okay. And where was so I would say maybe right about here, right? Okay. And where was the other person's get along? Where was the intersection for them?
It was like almost dead in the middle of that line, right? Yeah, right there.
Okay. So it's about right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So was it a really high conflict situation?
I don't think so. I think it was more just disagreement kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, the reason why I'm asking if it was a high conflict situation is because it sounds like both of you, both parties were close to this normal zone. And that's a good place to be, is in that normal zone. When you move too far out into the get it done and you get super controlling, someone who wants approval or to have approval shown to or approval given to them can also start to drift out into those corners and become more and more difficult to work with. Now, we have very little influence on where our clients may be or where our bosses may be, but we do have the ability to move closer to the quadrant that they're operating out of.
Okay.
And most people have a preferred quadrant.
Yeah,
So.
and think of it again like a communication style. So like, for instance, I always tend to be a very aggressive, get it done. And when I encounter someone who's a get along, our communication styles clash. So this is what ends up happening. I need to get them to get things done, and they're trying to get, as I'm doing that, they're pushing back on me to get along. So they're using this get along communication, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? I need you to get it done. And they're like, but I'm trying to get along with you. And I'm like, but get it done, right? So then it's more and more like this, because we're trying to be more of our quadrants, and it starts to spread us out to the aggressive. And the idea is the communication tries to go to the center or the normal zone, so that you're sort of communicating better, where, you know, I'm using language that a get along is going to understand, so that they can get their task done. And they're going to go to the middle to use more task focused language, so I can get along better. So really this tool is just to get you to the normal zone, whereas escalating a situation where you're trying to be more and more trying to establish or control or approval seeking.
And just to be really clear, many of the people we work with are approval seeking, and I don't really love the word attention seeking, but they're looking to be acknowledged for the struggle that they have gone through, that they have tried things and they have failed, and they are still trying. That's something that's very important to give approval for. And so also people in the get appreciated section, you know, this is possibly a parent of a child with mental illness who has, you know, totally upended their life to find good treatment for their child and to get them integrated into school. And they might need to hear, you know, you are a good mom. You have worked really hard on this. Now it's my turn to help work alongside of you to get more supports for your child, or get more supports for, you know, your family member, or adults or children combined. So we're going to look through a couple of, and we are going to end at 10 today, Alberto, just so you know. But we're going to look through a couple of these slides. These are the strengths of people that operate in get it right, get it done, get appreciated, and get along. So these are some of the strengths. I tend to be a get it right or a get it done. I'm usually in one of those areas, pretty much always. I'm never, I shouldn't say never, because sometimes everyone is, but I am rarely in get appreciated or get along. But people send me get along and get appreciated credit. And so I take that and I put it through my robot brain, and I say, I must be accomplishing my objectives, right? Because there I am with like thinking and feeling again, right? They were probably saying that to me to help me with my feelings. I put it in the processor and it comes out as objectives accomplished, you know. So It's really important to know, you know, what the strengths of these areas are, because you want each of these on your team. You really do, for a harmonious work environment, which is important because it reduces employee burnout. Again, me putting a thought and putting it on why we worry about people's feelings, but still. So, do you think you typically fall into a get it done category? How about don't?
Yeah, I did see, I think I've been told I'm a perfectionist, so I think that's where at times I could go more into the get it
Okay,
right.
you absolutely just earned your spot, yes, in get it right. Because if you describe yourself as a perfectionist, or you worry about being a perfectionist, then you're probably a perfectionist, and that's okay. These are the negative ways of saying that. But Crystal, I should ask, Crystal, is which quadrant do you typically identify with, Crystal?
I typically identify in the get it right, but I also swing down to the get along.
Yep.
I don't get far into the get it done. Like, I want to get it done, but it's more important to get it right. And it's more important for me to make sure that the team is happy and collaborating on it. So I really lean that direction.
Yep. So Crystal, can you share at least one of our behavior analysis that we did? Can you take over the screen sharing?
Yeah.
So Crystal and I, no, if you would do it, you know, I'm not going to screw it up. So Crystal and I, last night, we identified a common event in our working relationship together, and we both completed this. And so I am going to let her describe the scenario and what the scenario was like. And then, and at the same time, we're going to show you our graph and how that how we might have needed to move more into the normal zone or been more in the normal zone.
So at first, I'll tell you a little bit about the situation before I show you the presentation. But when I first started working with Megan, I was actually hired to start a pilot project as a community health worker, working with parenting and pregnant teens in the high school, which was something that was very close to my heart. The one thing that I get very attached to is pregnant teens, and trying to help them become successful and independent and, you know, work towards being a good parent. I built a lot of very strong relationships with those kiddos, which is not normal for me. And I had one kiddo who was 16, and she was basically on her own. And she went into labor, and she called me because she had no mom or dad or family member, anybody to be there. And she was very scared, and I wanted to go, and Megan wouldn't let me. And Megan was my boss, and she's like, no, that is against policy. You're really going outside the lines of a community health worker. Granted, it was like 10 o'clock at night. I live in Meridian. It was in Ontario. She's like, it's late at night. You're all the way in Boise. You're going to get to, she was very much thinking about the risk and like, this is the policy, this is the process. And she was in this, we need to do it right. We need to get it right now. And it's just too much risk. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have been working with her. She needs me. I need to be out there with her. I need to get along with her. I need to support her. And so that was kind of the conversation. And if you look at these slides, you can kind of see.
And let me tell you what my parallel process was for this experience. So my parallel process is that Crystal had mentioned this young lady's due date was coming, and, you know, even mentioned that I think she was having some early contractions or something. I knew that she was going to get super attached to every kid in the program because she has a great heart. Everybody does that works in this business, we hope. And so I was warned that this was going to be a decision that I had to make. So Crystal is showing my scoring of the situation. I was definitely actually more in the get it done because I'd already identified I wasn't going to be able to get this right. This wasn't going to go perfectly with policy, but I might have to find, or I might have to get, you know, a few steps involved there to let her go do this. I knew she was going to come banging on my door in the middle of the night. It's okay. We do that. That's crisis work. And so for me, I had moved over into more of the normal zone of get it done, away from get it right, by kind of identifying, okay, if you make an appointment in the EHR before you go, if you go only, I think I said you go only after the baby is delivered, and you have to only be there for a certain number of hours. But I want you to maintain that therapeutic relationship. It's just you're going to have to do it within some boundaries. And so she was way out there on the extremes of assertive, people focused, not task focused. She was, and that's very unusual for her. But because I knew that it was coming, kind of had a game plan, and I appreciated that she gave me the heads up. So this is our graph. Crystal is, of course, the one in the lower left-hand quadrant, get along. And I am in the upper left-hand quadrant, and I'm still trying to make a nice, fair decision, communicate in the normal zone and make a fair decision. So Crystal, did I end up communicating in the normal zone and making a fair decision?
You did end up getting there for me. I felt in the moment, and that's kind of how I scored this, that you were way out there. Like, and I was like, I'm not being that, my mindset, I'm not being that, you know, self-absorbed, get along, get appreciated. It's really within my boundaries. That was my mindset at the time, but really I was way out in the 1-in-1 zone in the moment. But in my head, I didn't think I was. But eventually we really came back together, and I was able to understand Megan's process, realize where I was at, my attachment and anxiety, prior trauma, vicarious trauma, all of that was going on, and we were able to get back into that good focus zone where she's like, this is how we're going to do it right, and this is how we're going to get it done. And I felt like I can do what I need to emotionally for this person and emotionally for myself, and still stay within the reins of getting it done properly.
All right. Is it okay if I take over again, Crystal?
Yep.
All right. Jen, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that's a perfect illustration, Alberto, that, and am I enunciating your name correctly? That's the other part. I hate that when people think they're enunciating.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Is it Alberto? I'm saying Alberto, but is that wrong?
No, that's, I mean, I would say that's like the standard American version.
Okay.
Honestly, as long as people don't call me Al or Roberto, I'm happy.
Okay. I would say because I'm a logical thinker, when I found that 4-quadrant model, it was because I was having a lot of conflict with when I do these really facilitations with pretty highly charged with different people in these meetings, and inevitably I would get into it with one person or something because I had some sort of a conflict and I couldn't figure out what that conflict was. And the reason why we ended up with this model was because it was so you can easily visualize where you're sitting, and then easily visualize where this other person is sitting as well. And then I was able to quickly be able to take this kind of skill and go, oh, I got to be a little bit more get along, or I got to be a little bit more get appreciated, or I got to be a little bit more get it right, so that you're sort of going into their quadrant for communication. So just know that we're not perfect people, but this is a way to be more self-aware of where you're at and how to negotiate that communication language with someone who's got a different style than you.
Yeah, and you'll notice in your packet that there are 4 pages about how to work strengths and blind spots of each of the personal styles, get it right, get it done, get along, and get appreciated. And I really encourage you to read those and think about your particular style, and to get to know, there's a section that says in loving, working with, and dealing with this kind of person, get to know those tips for the different types of behavior. I'm going to show, I put this together before I became a clinician, so I am going to show all of those behavior weaknesses. Judgmental, pushy, and bully. I have definitely been called pushy. I'm the person that comes back and asks the same question over and over until someone gives me an answer. So I'm definitely a get it done person. And I just really encourage you that you may see people, and when you think, oh, they're really just not taking this seriously, or gosh, they can't seem to make a decision about anything, or why aren't we moving forward on this, to look and see what area they might be in. And honestly, these 4 pages became a little bit of a Bible for me, especially in facilitating treatment team meetings, which was this experience similar to Jen. So dig into those worksheets and definitely learn more. So I think we kind of covered this. We need to move between quadrants to work protectively and cooperatively. And this is the lesson for the day, not to learn. It comes to you via Dilbert. This is welcome today to my seminar on dealing with difficult coworkers. Difficult coworkers generally fall into one of these groups: lazy, mean, smart, and crazy. The only way to deal with them is to quit your job and become a syndicated cartoonist. Thanks for coming. So the whole, really the whole content of today is about the wide variety of people, styles, and personalities that we deal with, and the wide variety of communication personality styles that we have as an ESTJ that has a get it right focus, and maybe has other things going on in their life. So that the whole focus of today was about getting to know each other, and I hope you kind of got to know us and you want to come back sometime soon. So Crystal, do you have something to summarize?
No, I just hope that you can kind of, this takes a lot to absorb. It's a lot of information. And just know you're not going to always be able to really pinpoint the personality of the person you're working with. I think I'm one of those examples, you never really know what to expect, because my brain does kind of go back and forth with a lot of those personality types. It's what I need to be in the moment. And you probably learned about the personas in your psych program and stuff, and that's how I have learned to function throughout my life. So it's just kind of rolling with it, and just knowing that you may not be able to pinpoint it, but being aware of those types out there and how you can be aware of them to best help them and support them, and know what you need to do for them. Because that's what you're doing as behavioral health care coordinator. You're there to support the patient. You're there to be that person, that guide that they need you to be. And so it's a lot of checks and balances on your own part. But having this information, I think, gives you a lot of tools. You're going to carry that tool bag around with you when you work with your patients. And this is going to provide you with a lot of tools and mechanisms that you're going to need to help those patients.
Yeah, and also in dealing with your integrated team members, that's really important.
Absolutely.
Really important, because we cannot let our personality conflicts interfere with the good work that we're trying to do. Yeah. Before I let Jen sign us off, I am going to say there is one homework assignment for next week.
Okay.
It is the professional boundary self-assessment tool. And yes, there's a page where you get to score and circle things and use math, which I hate. So I'll be doing mine in advance so that I don't have to do it on the fly. And I appreciate your flexibility with throwing down on that 4-quadrant behavior analysis on the break. You totally threw down on it, but you're a J, so I know that you'll do that. All right, Jen, would you like to close us out?
Yeah, just to close out. Did you fall on the get it right side?
I got into the get it done side.
Okay, but do you tend to be a little bit more on the get it right side, more the perfectionist? Did I hear that?
Yeah, I've been told that a lot. So that's where I was like, and I know I can be, so that's where I was like, oh, I'm wondering why I didn't get on that side more. But
Maybe the situation, right?
yeah.
The thing I will say is we hope that you will learn psychological flexibility.
Mhm.
That's a big thing in integrated behavioral health. And these tools as a thinker, right, should help you develop skills on being psychologically flexible, because you're going to work in a very generalist setting, and you also are going to be working in some rural clinics, right? I know you're going to be doing some work over in Rupert and Burley, and so the goal is to arm you with as much, as many skills as possible to help you be as psychologically flexible as possible. Each clinic's going to have different needs, and they're going to have different limitations and different issues, and you're going to have different personalities. And even from Twin Falls to Rupert, you're going to have different community people. And so hopefully what you'll take away from this training is that we've prepared you as much as we can, given you skills as much as we can to help you with developing flexibility in your way of dealing with people. And we hope that you will further your education and get a master's degree. I'm going to discourage you to get a master's in psychology, just because I have a bachelor's in psychology, and unless you want to get a doctorate, that's probably the only way you're going to get your license. But if you need to get your license sooner, I'd get a master's of social work or a master's of counseling, where you can actually get your license earlier. So the thing is, we hope that you will further your education so that you may want to become a behavioral health person in a rural area and serve the people where you live, and become a therapist or a behavioral health provider in a medical setting. And that's really our goal. Is this is hopefully a stepping stone for you, and hopefully we can get more bachelor's level people wanting to do this and building a grassroots workforce that wants to live in these communities. So it'll be really helpful to get feedback from you, but also we hope that you'll get some really good lessons and skills from this training.
Okay.
We wish we had 3 or 4 Albertos. Because then you guys would all give us a different take, but we really actually appreciate any constructive feedback. We're sorry, I'm just going to say that we're all J's, or me and Crystal, we're J's. Nothing can hurt our feelings. And we're T's, nothing can hurt our feelings. So we appreciate feedback. So anything you think of, please share.
Oh, I thought this was really interesting. I think I definitely like the point you make about psychological flexibility, because I find that I do want to be adaptive in my work, but without being performative, and I find that I do that a lot, just because I'm like, well, how do I react in this situation with this type of person? But I want those interactions to be genuine. So just to have some knowledge in how to kind of meet that person halfway with how the normal communication style would be. Maybe I don't have to stretch as far as to their block, but we can meet in the middle. So that definitely gave me like a goal to work on, and visual. I didn't realize how much I relied on visuals until that too. So I really appreciated that as well.
The other thing is this, be comfortable with making mistakes.
Okay.
And this is where adaptive skills is really important. But the thing is, no one is born perfect.
Mhm.
And we don't expect you to be perfect. What we expect is that you are humanistic. People are going to make mistakes. And early on in your career, you're going to make mistakes. If you would have saw the amount of mistakes I made in my bachelor's, I wish I would have had a better training system when I was younger. But the thing is, be comfortable with the fact that you are going to make mistakes, but we're hopefully providing you some guardrails so that your mistakes aren't so harmful to patients or to your coworkers or to yourself. That it's really intended to be, experiential mistakes, and that you'll learn from it and learn fast. Make mistakes fast, but learn fast. But it's okay that you're going to make mistakes. Don't worry that you're not going to be a perfectionist. We all have made mistakes along our road of professional development.
And we all made those mistakes with the support of a team. If we make our mistakes right, we make our mistakes with the support of the team. So we let our supervisors know what's going on. We let our colleagues know what's going on so that they can help and advise us as well. So it has been wonderful spending the morning with you. You have no idea how much E I used just in a couple quick hours. I really, this behind me is where my family moved to when they moved to the Oregon, Idaho area. I really feel like I want to go hang out there for like 2 or 3 hours and recharge. But to me, all of that energy that we invest in you, we hope that it brings you a good start on your journey. So.
Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I also want to apologize for being late. For some reason on Outlook, it showed 9 to 10:30 on my schedule. And then I didn't know this computer didn't have Zoom. And so it was just a mess.
Don't worry.
You got on quick. You troubleshooted quick. It was fine. That was great.
So I've sent everything now to your email account. So I think you're good to go. So all the other sessions are already set up for every Tuesday for at least several weeks.
Okay.
So we've got several sessions to go through this training modules with you.
Okay.
It is recorded, so you can go back to it and review.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just encouraging you as we go through these sessions, do what you need to do to stay engaged. I mean, I don't think it's any, do what you need to do. Bring a fidget, take notes. If you're the kind of person that thinks they want to type everything that's being said into the PowerPoint, let us know. Whatever helps you learn, we have to adapt to your learning style, which we really didn't talk about today, and I should have. So.
Okay. Well, I was writing notes, and so yeah.
Good,
so
good.
I think I'll just keep doing that. I definitely wrote some points you guys made, and so I'll look into that kind of more deeply.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye.